What is the classic Hollywood story or story structure that every filmmaker slash writer should know?
I think plenty of people have said it better than me. You know, the hero's journey, Christopher Vogler. I think understanding the archetypes of, well, first that classic three-act structure, which is the setup, the confrontation, the resolution, and watching being introduced to a character and their world as they are experiencing it, having them deal with whatever inciting incident challenges them and makes them rise to action. And then obviously the resolution where we see how the journey of Act Two has impacted them and will affect their life and the lives of those closest to them as they move past the world of our film. You know, I think that's something you have to understand because it's really where most storytelling exists, and then in turn how most people are used to absorbing and digesting a story. So learning what works before you break the rules is important. I think that there are other, then you just get into, more particular understandings of character and structure. That Hero's Journey book by Vogler is great because he breaks down the character archetypes from, I might misquote some of these people, but like you've got allies, you've got the shapeshifters, the people who are introduced as allies perhaps, but then they have ulterior motives, whether driven by plot or driven by character. Like all of these things are helpful to make you kind of look at the world of your story and begin to like pick up the right tool to craft it into something that best realizes whatever your themes and your points are that you're trying to accomplish. So I feel like that's really the key. Then if you are, I think that Robert McKee's book obviously has like a really great story triangle that was just one element of the book but it was very, I'm a visuals person. And so I think in his triangle, he has like, at the top of the triangle is the classic Hollywood narrative that we're talking about now. At the bottom is the anti-hero, like a Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. And then at the bottom on the other side is the multiple character story, like a Magnolia or anything Robert Altman. And the joke that he makes is as you move down the triangle, your audience gets smaller, And I think that's true, unless you have a movie star in it and you can make Magnolia,
Or Crash.
or Crash,
Mm-hmm.
or, whatever it might be.
Right.
But yeah, understanding those things I think is important to being able to have some agency and control over the story while still, being responsive to what the characters tell you needs to happen.
Did you watch Casablanca again after you took McKee's class?
Oh yeah, I've watched it often. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you see it with new eyes once you took his class?
Definitely. I saw it with new eyes. You start, there's like, I can enjoy something while watching, the sausage being made. You know what I mean? Like I can watch like, oh, I see what they're doing. I see why they did that in that scene. And that was still, it was very economical. It was still character driven. And that was a smart way to do it in 1941. You know what I mean? Or even now, like we're watching Top Boy on Netflix. And there are just certain things that kind of have to happen in the story. And when they happen, I'm watching and I'm like, that was a very smart way to do something that has to happen. And so when you know the mile markers, that's when you can begin to, add your own perspective, add your own sauce, your own interpretation, and make it unique. But you can't, if you don't know that mile marker is happening, you can't do it at all. A bad example would be like if you were a vegan, you have to know what certain elements are doing in a non-vegan dish to then say, we need this thing to accomplish what cheese would accomplish. You know what I mean? And so like the architecture of storytelling, you gotta be fluent.
When you went to direct, was it some of the later episodes of You?
Of You, I did episode 307 and 308. So that was third season, episode 7 and 8 out of 10 total episodes.
So did you go and rewatch and really study who these characters are? Because they're very, very clear, interesting characters, fascinating.
Yeah, with any show, I'll go some shows make it impossible because they have too many seasons, but with You, I probably watched every episode twice because I'm watching for style. I'm watching for, and that could be from the writing to the tone, how they handle different moments, whether it's violence or sex or camera. Nowadays, how are you applying text, and being on a phone, because that's a whole other thing, and I'm just trying to digest. It's like the information's already there for me to start from, so I'm just trying to take it all in. A lot of times I might notice like, oh, well, you used to do this thing in season 1 and, it's not really happening anymore. Is that, like, why did you step away from that? And sometimes they're like, oh, that was a thing we hated. Or maybe they might say, oh, you know what, that was cool. I don't know why we aren't doing that anymore. Let's do that. So I'm trying to, like, information is key. And then, I'll read any and all scripts up to my episode because some things won't be finished. So, in a scenario like that, I could watch maybe 2 episodes, 301 and 302, and then I've got to read 3, 4, 5, and 6 to know where we are in the story, and then figure out what is happening in my episode. And then I've got to have questions about where it's going, so I'm aware if I'm setting up anything in particular for the final 2.
Sure. And a lot of chance meetings in a show like that, and a lot of characters lying and not revealing themselves, which is sort of, the audience is privy to it, but the other characters aren't.
Right. And that show, last little inside for the directors out there, that show was an interesting challenge that I didn't foresee, which is blocking for Joe, for Penn Badgley's character, where when we're in his mind and he's got his thoughts, blocking in a way where he can have business and be moving around a room, so those thoughts can kind of be private and he's not compelled to engage with the other person. So it's like if 2 people are looking at each other, it's a little weird to have this monologue this voiceover on him while he's really talking to somebody over here. But let's say I make him take a walk over here, get a plate out of the cupboard, his back's to her, he comes back here, puts the plate down, and a fork and a knife, and then he looks up. That could cover all the VO of his inner thoughts. And so it was a lot of like really having to think like the actor and come up with pitches that would work for that reason. And so I'm sure that'll be a skill that I'll take to something else that I can't predict.